Down to the final 20 kilometres of Strade Bianche 2025, and we're approaching the penultimate sector with Tom Pidcock in the company of the world champion and the reigning champion of this event, Tadej Pogacar, who's been off his bike, but he's back on, he's back up, and he's back in the fight for glory once more. They're fending off this chase group and holding that gap at a steady minute, sort of yo-yoing between 57 seconds and sort of 1 minute and 3 seconds. Second chase group on the road, and a further minute in arrears, so it's very much settled into three groups. The leading group of two clearly having the watts to hold off the chasers behind and steeling themselves, you feel, for the fight to come. As we arrive at the penultimate sector, and this tricky and demanding little right-hander plunged down a descent, got a little bit of a left-hand bend, and then it gets interesting. Then the road rises, and that's when things become a little bit demanding. Pinzuto for the riders, 2.5 kilometers in total, and as you can see, it gets up to double figures in the ascent, and it's now that he decides to launch. The body language changes. Tom Pidcock knows all about it, straight out of the saddle, and he's launching right from the beginning of this climb. It goes on for a little bit. We've got several hundred meters of this, and it's Tom Pidcock alive to the first salvo being fired. Well, it's probably the second salvo, the first of those coming with about 80k remaining on the Santa Maria. And he's fighting to try and stay in here, and it looks as if Tadej Pogacar could be putting a little bit of daylight for the first time between himself and Tom Pidcock, who sits back in the saddle. But has he got enough? He continues to resist, but can he stay in there? Several bike lengths emerge, and the huge crowds are urging on both riders, but Tadej Pogacar is finally detaching himself from Tom Pidcock, and he's not going to look around again before he reaches the top of this climb. Tadej Pogacar going for glory, and Pidcock seemingly can do nothing about it.
Yeah, it looks that way now, and you know, it was always going to be a question. Tadej Pogacar was going to, you know, he didn't want to come into the finish Siena with the Pidcock. He looks round, he sees the gap there. He's, you know, the fact that he's been down so hard today and he just accelerates away. I just thought maybe Tom Pidcock, you have to kind of test him out. Well, he's been tested out himself. It was interesting that Pogacar put his hand up before we hit this sector. He didn't want anything. I think it was just a case where he wanted to make sure that the team car was right behind him, and the team car is, and it'll be soon past Pidcock and moving up to, you know, the world champion here. But yeah, this has been a tough race for Tadej Pogacar, but he came in here as favourite. He already showed he looked super strong. It's what was taken out of him in that crash. Could Tom Pidcock hold on? And he couldn't, and Pogacar looks as if he's up and flying again.
Up and flying is very much the phrase. He's alone in his effort now, as indeed is Tom Pidcock. It's solo time trial racing, you might say. It's beautiful road racing in every sense. As we get a little look across, and Tom Pidcock now knows exactly what the distance is between himself and glory today, ultimate glory. Well, he said that he needed to stay on the wheel of Tadej Pogacar when Pogacar attacked. He managed that at the first time of asking with 80 kilometres remaining. He was the only one who could. Connor Swift was there for a while after they scooped him up from the early break. And then there were two, and now there's just one. And the gap almost instantly moves out to 20 seconds. Is there anything Tom Pidcock can do about this right now? I suppose the major mission for the Yorkshireman, you would suspect, is to try and ensure that he's not caught by the group behind, because almost inevitably his confidence, his enthusiasm for this could wane a little. What legs has he got to try and hold off the riders behind? What ability has he got to try and perhaps close back up to Tadej Pogacar? Pogacar recovering from that crash, showing no ill effects. Certainly doesn't seem to have affected the amount of power he's able to put into the pedals as he surges clear.
It's incredible to see there when Pogacar's just sitting down, powering away, and Tom Pidcock was out the saddle. And when he sat down in the saddle, that was it, the end.
Wellens make it potentially a 1-2, maybe even a bit more, 1-3, maybe even a bit more than that. He leaves Healy and the rest as he waited for his moment to race clear and race alone. He cannot do this in the company of other riders, but maybe heard and got the signal that Pogacar had attacked, and also he too spotting an opportunity on the same sector of road as Bilbao, Adria and the Irishman Healy in amongst two Spaniards at the moment find themselves floundering and potentially not even going to make a podium today.
Yeah, Connor Swift is gone as well, so he's put an incredible ride in. Can he hold on to a kind of top 7 performance? But this is no real surprise here. Tim Wellens, he knows his leader is gone, and that gap opened up very, very quickly to 20 seconds. So Tim Wellens trying to get himself onto the podium, and you know, we did say that by sitting on this group, he's had to do a little bit of work today for Pogacar, a lot less than many of his other teammates. He was in a little bit of difficulty earlier on, but looking good for this podium place. But Pidcock, you know, arguably you could say, well, why did you ride as much with, you know, Pogacar? Hindsight's a great thing. He was doing what he thought was best, and I think it was best that he rode with Pogacar. After the crash, he kind of waited for him. But come the ends, I think Tom Pidcock will just be truthful. Even after the crash, there's nothing stopping the form of Tadej Pogacar at the moment. Very difficult. I think Tom Pidcock has ridden tremendously well in this race.
He's still
I think he will
well.
hold. Yeah, I think he'll hold on to second place. But how many times has Pogacar unleashed and somebody's been able to go with them? Not many times. You know, over the last kind of year or so, as that happens in these type of races, when Pogacar goes, and I believe that he was trying to go solo when he went under 80 kilometres to go from the finish. He wanted to go solo. He got Pidcock for company. That might have been a bonus in the end because Pidcock rode with him, but he's doing what he does. He wants to win this race solo. He doesn't want to take any chance whatsoever. I just thought it was...
If Pidcock had elected not to ride, what would have happened? What would Pogacar have done?
Probably attacked him in every sector. Probably, you know, it was the best for Pidcock to ride. I think it was the best thing for him to do. You know, even if he sat back and never went with Pogacar and sat back, being with the group behind, you always kind of risk the kind of negative riding behind. But I think Tom's ridden a good race today. Pogacar is just better than everybody else, unfortunately. That's why he's the world champion. That's why he's going to win this race for the third time. I just thought it was a telltale sign when he put his hand up going into that sector. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to make sure that his team car was there, so that through that sector, when he went on the attack, his team, when he put his hand up going into that sector, he didn't want anything. He just wanted to make sure that his team car